What you just did, what you just pulled off, shouldn't even be possible for a human being. Not a soldier, not a saint, not a scholar, not a demon, but you. And here's the part nobody is ready to say out loud. You didn't just break a rule, you broke the physics holding that rule in place. All because you did the one thing nobody expected. You stopped playing within the boundaries they built and started playing within the boundaries you rewrote. And oh, did they notice? They're trying to act normal right now, trying to process, trying to understand, trying to explain you with logic, psychology, trauma, talent, IQ, astrology, whatever scrap of meaning they can grab before the floor falls out beneath them. But there's a problem. There's no explanation, because what you did wasn't talent, wasn't luck, wasn't skill. It was evolution wearing your face like a mask. And here's the suspenseful little secret you keep tucked behind your smile. You didn't rise, you didn't grow, you didn't transform, you activated. You became something the world hasn't seen yet. Something that crawled out of the quiet, out of the ruin, out of the dead ends and the broken pieces, and decided, fine, if the world won't give me a seat, I'll take the whole damn table. They can't grasp it yet, but their instincts, oh, those are screaming. You know that feeling you get when lightning strikes a little too close? That primal jolt down your spine? Yeah. You just became that. To everyone. Because they saw you do it. That impossible thing that should have shattered you, or humbled you, or slowed you down, or at least, made you bleed. But instead, you walked out of the wreckage untouched, not shaken, not gasping, not grateful. You walked out calm. And that terrifies them more than anything. Because calm is what monsters wear when they're done pretending to be human. And now the whispers begin. Who taught them that? No one should be able to do that. He's not normal. She's not normal. They're not normal. Oh, and your favorite one? Did they practice that? How? Where? You didn't practice. You became the contradiction. The paradox, the duality they hoped you'd never realize was living inside you. The saint who can turn into a psychopath when the moment requires it. The angel who learned to use the dark. The victim who became the weapon. The soul who became the strike. The silence that became the siren. You are walking proof that pain has a blueprint. And you followed it straight through the fire until you reached the part labeled Upgrade Complete. And here's the joke, the delicious, cruel, inevitable joke. They thought you were finished. They counted you out, closed the book, filed the report, archived the case. Then you walked back into the story like a glitch in their script and rewrote the entire plot in one move. That's why they're afraid, because if you can do that, if you can pull off something that shouldn't exist, something no human should survive, something no mind should calculate, something no heart should endure, what else are you capable of? What happens when you stop holding back, when you stop playing fair, when you stop dimming your instincts because you were taught to play small? They don't want to find out. And they will, one way or another, because after today, after that move, after that impossible, incomprehensible, reality-bending maneuver you just executed, you're not a participant anymore. You're the event, the anomaly, the phenomenon, the turning point, the chapter they'll study for years, the moment everything split into before you and after you. And here's the part that sends a chill through every room you enter. You did it effortlessly. While they were strategizing, analyzing, plotting, predicting, double-checking their double checks. You were simply becoming. And now, every observer, every enemy, every rival, every watcher has to ask themselves the question they're terrified to hear the answer to. If this is what you can do on an ordinary day, what happens when you finally decide to unleash all of you? Keep going. Because they haven't even seen the version of you that knows what it's capable of. And when that moment comes, they'll pray it was only impossible. Because what's coming next is unprecedented. Lean in. Because what comes next isn't for the faint-hearted. It's for the ones who can feel the static crawling under their skin the moment your name is mentioned. For the ones who keep replaying that moment, that impossible stunt you just pulled, trying to figure out whether you're a genius or a threat. Here's the punchline: you're both. And you always have been. See, most people evolve like grass growing, slow, predictable, manageable. But you evolved like an eruption, like something ancient finally waking up and stretching its limbs after centuries of silence. They didn't notice the signs at first. The tremor in the atmosphere, the slight distortion in the room when you walked in, the way conversations died half-sentence when you passed by. But the moment you pulled off that inhuman move, the moment you executed that hyper-calculated, heart-stopping, logic-bleeding maneuver that no human being should have the clarity to pull off, every instinct in every witness screamed the same thing. This is not a normal creature. This is an escalation. And now, they're rattled, shaken, disoriented, trying to figure out if they're dealing with a prodigy, a cosmic glitch, or the kind of soul heaven protects only because hell can't contain it. But here's the secret they'll never admit. You didn't surprise them. You surprised yourself. That's the part that makes this terrifying. Because this wasn't your final form. This wasn't even your controlled form. This was you, in a moment of instinct, clarity, rage, purpose, alignment, destiny, whatever the hell you want to call it. Tapping into a power you didn't even know you had access to. That's why the energy around you feels different now. Why people watch you the way they watch hurricanes forming, from the edge, with distance, with awe, with fear, with the unsettling realization that if this is you on accident, what are you on purpose? Because that move, that impossible thing that defied probability, defied expectation, defied their entire worldview, didn't come from training, didn't come from luck, didn't come from some external force. It came from your nature. And nature doesn't ask, it unleashes. Look at them now. How they scramble in silence, how they avoid meeting your eyes, how they whisper like terrified children trying to make sense of the shadows. They're not scared of what you did. They're scared of what it revealed. You've been hiding, shrinking, pretending, softening your edges so the world could hold you without bleeding. But the truth slipped out. And once truth escapes, you can't shove it back in. You showed them the part of you that doesn't negotiate, doesn't apologize, doesn't hesitate. You showed them the part of you born from ashes, sharpened by betrayal, sanctified by pain, and unleashed by necessity. The part of you that watches chaos with a steady pulse. The part of you that walks into collapse like it's choreography. The part of you that carries both halo and hellfire and uses them interchangeably. You're an atrocity in the eyes of the weak, a miracle in the eyes of the broken, a puzzle in the eyes of the analysts, and a weapon in the eyes of anyone foolish enough to cross you. But in the eyes of truth, you're something far worse. A reminder that evolution doesn't need permission, that destiny doesn't ask for approval, that monsters aren't born. They're forged, and you survived every flame that was meant to consume you. Now stand still for a moment. Listen. Do you hear it? That strange, heavy silence. That tension in the atmosphere, like the world is waiting for your next move. That's because you've stepped outside their playbook. You're no longer predictable, no longer categorizable, no longer human in the way they understand the word. You're something that slipped between the definitions. An angel with a glitch, a demon with discipline, a saint with scars, a psychopath with purpose, a paradox walking on two legs, and they can't handle paradox. But you thrive in it. Because inside that duality, inside that collision of light and dark, mercy and violence, logic and madness, is the truth. You were never meant to fit their mold. You were meant to break it. And today, with that one impossible, unprecedented, reality-warping move, you did. Now keep going, because the world hasn't caught up to the fact that you're not operating on human rules anymore. And by the time they realize, you'll be on your next impossible move. Stay right there. Don't blink, not this time. Because you're standing in the kind of moment most people never reach. The moment where the mask of humanity starts slipping off and something older, sharper, more dangerous begins to surface in its place. And they felt it before you did. That's the twisted beauty of it. The world sensed the monster you were becoming long before you ever caught a glimpse of your own reflection. You think they stepped back because they didn't like your tone, your confidence, your silence. No, they stepped back because evolution radiates like heat off your skin, and they could feel the burn, see? When you pulled off that impossible move, that maneuver so precise, so viciously elegant, so beyond the limits of what any human should be capable of, it wasn't just the act itself that scared them. It was the effortlessness, that unsettling quiet in your eyes, that eerie calm in your posture, that disturbing lack of fear or hesitation. You didn't look like someone performing a miracle. You looked like someone performing a habit, as if you'd done this in another life, as if your bones remembered something your mind forgot. They watched your hands, your timing, your execution, the way you processed chaos with predatory precision, and none of it aligned with human limitation, because humans flinch, humans freeze, humans doubt, humans hesitate, but you moved like a creature that doesn't acknowledge fear as real, like a thing that isn't shocked by its own brilliance, because brilliance is the baseline. And that's when the shift happened. Their perception of you broke. Something inside them snapped. A quiet, primal terror leaked out of their subconscious and whispered one sentence they'll never dare say aloud. We are not dealing with one of us. And the more they think about it, the more the timeline adds up. Because nobody climbs out of what you climbed out of and remains human-shaped on the inside. Nobody processes betrayal, abandonment, humiliation, loss, and comes out speaking the same emotional language. Nobody survives the things that should have ended you and returns with that kind of precision in their eyes. Humans don't do that, but something else does. Something forged in pressure, something sculpted in silence, something sharpened in the dark when nobody was watching. And here's the part they feared the most. You didn't even use your full capacity. The version of you they just witnessed. The version that bent reality, shattered expectations, and pulled off an act that should sit on the forbidden side of physics. That wasn't your max form. That wasn't even your awakened form. That was just the part of you that refuses to die. Imagine what happens when the rest of you decides to join in. That thought, that possibility, is enough to make the strongest, coldest, Most calculated people feel a tremor in their spine. Because if you can do that with half your power asleep, what happens when you finally wake up? Look around. Everything feels different now. Doors feel smaller. Rooms feel quieter. People feel distant. Time feels slower around you. Like reality is giving you space to think, or space to destroy. Your aura expanded, your presence thickened, and your silence became a weapon. Because the impossible has consequences, not for you, but for them. They're recalibrating, adjusting their understanding, rewriting their threat models, redrawing their assumptions, studying every detail of the moment you shattered physics, hoping to decode you before your next move breaks something even bigger. But here's the paradox they can't solve. You don't know your next move either. You discover it in real time, like an instinct waking you up from the inside, like an ancient intelligence whispering, "More." You are not predictable. You are not classifiable. You are not chartable on any human graph. You're a pattern that refuses to repeat, a formula that rewrites itself every time someone thinks they've solved it, a prophecy that keeps changing its ending just to stay unpredictable. And now that you've done the impossible, now that the smoke is still clearing from the move that shouldn't exist, you're noticing something. You don't feel drained. You feel hungry. Hungry for the next breakthrough. Hungry for the next wall to tear down. Hungry for the next limit to erase. Hungry for the next impossible you're about to make look effortless. Because this wasn't the climax. This wasn't the peak. This was the opening scene of a version of you that refuses to remain bound by human rules. They're terrified. You're awakening, and the world is about to learn, painfully, that the thing they underestimated is the thing they cannot stop. Keep going. The impossible was just your warm-up. Don't move. That feeling crawling up your spine right now, that's awareness. The moment your mind finally starts catching up to the creature your soul has already become. Because after what you just did, after that inhuman, logic-bleeding, physics-ignoring move, you crossed a threshold you can't walk back through, and the world knows it. That's why everything feels off now, why the air seems heavier, why people look at you longer than they should, why conversations bend around you instead of including you. Because they're adjusting, they're recalibrating, they're trying to update their understanding of reality to fit you inside it. But they can't, because you don't fit. You never did. You just finally stopped pretending. And now, your presence feels like a warning, a premonition, a siren in disguise. Not because you're evil, not because you're chaotic, not because you're dangerous. No, because you've become something rare, a human who outgrew the leash. And the system isn't built for people like that. You can see it in their body language, how they freeze a millisecond too long, how they suck in a quiet breath when you step closer, how their eyes widen before they force themselves to look away. They felt it, that shift, that eruption, that awakening, that impossible moment where you didn't just beat the odds. You humiliated them, and they're terrified because they didn't see any strain. You didn't grunt, didn't sweat, didn't hesitate, didn't even look surprised at yourself. You moved like someone who wasn't performing a miracle, but restoring one. Like you were simply reclaiming something stolen from you long ago. And here's the irony dripping through every second now. They think you changed. They think you transformed. They think you mutated into something new. But the truth? You finally became what you were always supposed to be. This version of you, cold, calculating, angelic, demonic, serene, violent, didn't appear out of nowhere. It was waiting, buried under years of restraint, obedience, self-doubt, fear of taking too much space, fear of owning your power, fear of being seen for what you really are. But the moment life pushed you far enough, when pressure tightened around your throat and the world expected you to break, that was the moment you exhaled evolution. And that is what they witnessed. Not a trick, not a fluke, not an accident, a reveal. And now the air tastes different around you, sharper, more alive, like the atmosphere is waiting for your next distortion, your next anomaly, your next quantum fracture. Because once someone breaks the impossible, the universe pays attention. And the universe is watching you right now, silent, wide-eyed, as if asking, what will you destroy next? But not out of fear, out of curiosity. Because you're unpredictable, unmapped, uncaged, and dripping with potential the world doesn't have a category for. You're the paradox, the angel raised in darkness, the demon who learned compassion, the saint who snapped, the monster who healed, the victim who became the architect, the quiet one who now shakes foundations by breathing. And paradoxes don't follow rules. They rewrite them. That's why people can't look you in the eye anymore. Not because there's danger, but because there's truth. A truth they're not ready to accept. You surpassed humanity without leaving it behind. You're walking with the calm of someone who has already died once, someone who has survived themselves, someone who doesn't fear consequences because consequences require limits. And you shattered yours. And here's the part that squeezes their lungs the hardest. You didn't even mean to. You weren't even trying. Not fully, not intentionally, not consciously. This was you at what? 40%? 20? 10? The version of you that performed the impossible wasn't the peak. It was the preview, a trailer, a teaser, a fragment of the real storm forming inside your chest. And deep down, you know it. You can feel the humming under your skin, the static behind your thoughts, the strange electricity curling through your bones, the sense that something bigger is stirring inside you. Something ancient, something inevitable, something hungry. And the world hasn't realized it yet, but they will. Because your next impossible move, it won't be silent, it won't be subtle, it won't be survivable for the weak. It'll be the kind of act that makes the universe lean forward and whisper, now that is evolution. Keep going. You haven't even scratched the surface of the creature you're becoming.